Welcome to the NFL Week 6 slate review. What's going on, guys? If you're new to this channel, my name is Jeff with Lock and Cash Sports, here to bring you through the entire football season. We're going to run down this entire NFL Week 6 slate, which has some awesome matchups on it. I can't believe that we're already 5 weeks down in this NFL season. It feels like it just started. Had a decent Sunday going 3-2, then hit on the Monday Night Football game last night. So happy with those results. I've already released 4 plays for Week 6. Some of those lines are on the move, so we're ready to go. We got some spots that I really like that we're going to be playing on this week. As always, we'll go through each game. I'll give you my leans on anything that I'm seeing, side total, and kind of some market movement that I'm watching as well. Injuries to watch out for, cool little nuggets, things like that. So let's get right into it. Thursday Night Football. This is one of the plays that I've already released. You've got the 49ers headed to Seattle taking on the Seahawks. Niners laying 3.5 now across the board at most books. 47.5 is the total. And both of these teams coming off of pretty similar Sundays leading into this divisional matchup, which is kind of interesting. The Niners, a 7-point favorite at home. The Seahawks, a 7-point favorite at home. And what do they both do? They both lose outright. Pretty ugly, disastrous endings to those games for these two teams. The Niners up 23-10 at the half. End up going scoreless in the second half. Don't have a kicker, so they have to go for it on 4th and long. Crazy scenarios being set up there. Arizona outscores them 14-0 in the second half, wins the game outright. Pretty insane. And then you've got the Seahawks, who are down to the Giants, got outplayed most of that game, make a late run coming to come all the way back, have a good drive to about with a minute left, fourth quarter, game-tying field goal, blocked, and returned the other way for a touchdown. Just 2 outrageous games. So now how do we find betting value coming out of these games? So the 49ers have looked very shaky offensively ever since the McCaffrey injury. But here's the thing. Here's the hope and optimism if you're a Niners fan. They are getting the opportunities, all right? They are getting into the red zone often and early. They're just not converting. 1 for 7 in the red zone against Arizona. This is a team that when they had McCaffrey and they got into the end zone, you knew who was punching it in most of the time. They were very good there. That hasn't been the case so far this year. On the other side, Seattle has shown flashes. That game on Monday night against Detroit, man, they got whatever they wanted in the passing game. They were throwing the ball. Geno was accurate. He was sharp. Then coming up against the Giants, kind of like what you expected from the Seahawks came to fruition. Like you expect when Geno Smith is pressured, he's going to have trouble. You don't expect them to be this explosive, crazy good offense, and you expect that defense to get exposed in certain areas, and that's everything that happened. That's what the Giants did. For me, the matchup here is really bad for Seattle. Now, part of this breakdown is that coming into the season, I was low on the Seahawks. I didn't think this was going to be a good team. I didn't think they were going to compete for a playoff spot. And on the show, the Week 4 preview show, I believe I will have to go back and check. I believe I even said that Seattle's kind of a fluky 3-0. And then I would look for spots to fade them. I leaned Detroit. Detroit won a cover. Yesterday morning, this doesn't count because I didn't send it out, but yesterday morning, I was very interested in the Giants +7. I was not going to send out money line, but I almost sent out +7. But then with Neighbors out, Singletary out, I was like, let me just pass on this game. But I was interested in Giants +7 because I'm not buying into the Seahawks as a above 500 playoff competitor. I'm just not buying it. I don't see the vision for this team. I lean here to the Niners strongly. I played it at -3, so that's has already gone out. It's now 3.5, maybe a slightly smaller lean at 3.5, but I still think they win and cover. I think this could be a smash spot for them. A team that's horrible defending the run, and that's really all the Niners need to get back. They need to get back to establishing the run. Jordan Mason, fine, he fumbles once, okay, but you got to get his confidence back. He was playing really well. Got to establish that running game again. This team has way too many weapons on offense to continue to be this bad in the red zone. Bottom 3 offense right now in the red zone in the NFL. Who was going through similar problems early on in the season? Detroit. Remember that game against Tampa in Week 2? They lose outright despite outgaining Tampa by so many yards. And they also, I believe, went 1 for 7 in the red zone in that game. And we were all talking about how come the Lions can't finish their drives? Well, then finally get a good win against Arizona, come home and get a ton of touchdowns against the Seahawks. The red zone effectiveness, the turning those red zone opportunities into touchdowns, the regression will swing back for the 49ers soon. Too much skill position talent on that team for it not to happen. I like the Niners -3 in this one on Thursday Night Football. All right, we've got another international game. We've had 2 international games so far this season. Brazil in week 1. Last week we had London with the Vikings and Jets. This week you've got the Jaguars headed back to London, catching 2 points against the Bears, total at 44.5. All right, Chicago's flying high right now, right? 3-2. Caleb Williams looked really good, but who did he look really good against? A very, very bad Panthers defense. Now, luckily for him, he's getting, hey, not quite as bad, but a pretty weak Jaguars defense. They have not looked good at all on defense, but they did get their first win last week. Here's my only thing with this game. Jacksonville maybe makes a good teaser leg because I got to think that a rookie quarterback, number 1 pick in the draft, going overseas for his first international game, there's got to be something there, right? I can't imagine he just handles that perfectly. The Jaguars have been to London so many times. I almost think to myself, is this like a pseudo home field for them? I mean, this line says the Bears are 2 points better on a neutral. Do you even give, maybe even if it's a point, a half a point, is there a pseudo home field here for the Jaguars? Trevor Lawrence has played there so many times. They know it really well over there. I believe last year, I'd have to go back and check, or was it last year or the year before where they went as like 6-point dogs and they beat the Bills outright there? So they know they know the deal in terms of flying, the preparation, what it takes to win games in London. And the Jaguars play there every year and they play there often. I got to think that's some kind of edge for Jacksonville in this game. I don't love either side in this one, but the Bears have put together back-to-back good wins against the Rams and then the Panthers, which was a blowout, which is what you're supposed to do against bad teams. You're supposed to blow them out, so that's good. But I just got to think that the Jaguars' offense is going to be a bigger test here. I like the Bears' defense in certain areas, but I think the Jags can put up points. Lawrence, if you look at his EPA versus his adjusted EPA, he's actually played better than the results would indicate. They really shouldn't be 1-4 like they are right now, but they are. A little bit of bad luck on his side, but I think he could challenge this Bears defense and maybe be a good teaser leg. That's really all I got on this game. Nothing really strong for me here, one way or the other. All right, this game. Oh man, I don't want to talk about the Washington Commanders. So one of my plays on Sunday was the Browns. That failed horribly. The Commanders are now headed to Baltimore for what is clearly their biggest test of the season. Now we're going to see if this team's legit or not. The Commanders are getting 6.5. There's some 6s popping up. So Washington money is coming in at the Ravens. Total's now at 53. This is the highest total of the season so far. I do see a 52.5 out there. So maybe, there's been some money saying, whoa, slow it down. We're going to go back the other way. Coming back down to the under. But man, Washington getting 6.5 here. What is not to like? I don't know. This team just looks so good on offense. And I thought last year was a prime sell high. Oh, sorry, last week was a prime sell high spot for them against the Browns, who last year was a great pass. I think they were the top passing defense in the NFL. This year, I think they're like top 12 or something. So still a stronger test than what they faced before coming into that game. And it didn't matter. They got whatever they wanted on them. I guess you could say some of those problems could just be the fact that Cleveland mentally, emotionally looks dead. The locker room could be lost. There could be turmoil there. Okay, fine, but you still expect a better effort. They just got outplayed in every facet of the game, and it was never close. It was never a game. So I don't think that will happen here with the Ravens. Now, 6-point dogs, 7-point dogs have been ridiculous this season. I think so. 2-0 straight up on Sunday with the Cardinals and with the Giants. Now you've got a 6.5-point dog. I think they're like 21-5 or 21-4 so far this season. Something ridiculous with like 15 outright wins. It's been insane. My biggest question with these large dogs, we have another one later on the slate, 2 more actually we'll talk about. But these 6 and 7-point dogs, I just wonder, like, is this a thing where what I think is it's going to regress soon, like midseason, maybe week 7, week 8, or maybe this week. It's going to regress. The market cannot continue to be wrong on 7 and 6-point dogs that keep winning these games outright. Or is this a thing that like is just going to continue for this season and it's an outlier year, and then next year it's completely goes away, and that our real opportunity to fade it is next year. So that kind of does go through my mind. It scares me a little bit, but I still lean Baltimore here. My power ratings have Baltimore as the best team in the NFL. I have them 1 in my power ratings. My line here is 7.5. So it's a small lean. It's not playable yet for me. I would need to get this. This could be playable at 6. Maybe I would love to get 5.5. I'd like that on Baltimore. I think you'll see a lot of points here. But here's the thing. Baltimore's defense, Washington Yes, Jaden Daniels has shown he can throw the ball. He did it against Cleveland. He's done it against most teams this year. But Baltimore's defense is excellent against the run. Okay, and they are going to be able to stifle those rushing lanes and those running opportunities. And they know what it's like with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. They know how to face a mobile quarterback. So I kind of like this matchup for the Ravens. And I think offensively, I know you can say that Washington defense hasn't been as bad as people expected it to be. They haven't really faced a lot of great offenses. It's still on paper pretty bad. The one good offense they faced was Cincinnati, and Cincinnati put up a ton of points in that game. Their defense has an insane amount of issues, but they put up a ton of points in that game. I think the Ravens can get whatever they want offensively in this game. It's just going to be how they play on defense. I think this could be, I know I said it last week, but I think this could be the regression game for Washington. They've won 4 in a row now. It's hard to do this in the NFL, to continue 5, 6, 7-game winning streaks. You want to look to start to fade those teams. My lean here is on Baltimore -6.5. This total, how could you not lean over with the way Commanders games have been going? I'd have to lean over 52.5, -6.5. But I'd really like to get this. If I want to bet the Ravens here, I'm either looking at a team total or I want this below 6. I don't want to play with backdoor covers and Jaden Daniels and all this stuff. If I can get a 5.5, I'll take it. Or maybe look at the Ravens team total. I'm not sure what it's set at, but I think they get whatever they want offensively in this game. Passing, running, any way they want it, they're going to score a lot of points. So gotta lean. Again, I know it's not working, but fade Washington one more time. I've only faded them one time. I actually bet them against the Giants. So I've been on them a couple times, but only faded them once with great failure. So lean Baltimore -6.5 in that one. All right, next game, we're headed to New England. The Texans coming off of an impressive win, albeit kind of had to hold on at the end against the Buffalo Bills. They're now going up to Foxborough, laying 7 points. Texans -7. The total is 37.5. This, to me, is a very strong teaser leg. I know I mentioned it with the Commanders about the 6 and 7 point dogs. I don't think it applies here. New England got the first one of this season. The first win as a 7-point dog in week 1. Since then, they have looked horrific. This is a bad football team. Lots of issues. It sounds like, for some of the reports we're hearing, that you could see Drake May pretty soon in on the offense. Houston's way too good to lose this game outright. I don't know about the 7. You know how the 7's a key number. I see this did dip to 6.5 one point, and it was bought back up, which I understand. But to me, Houston is just so much better. My line's 8, so if there were a 6, maybe I'd play it. But man, they're so much better and New England, listen, with Jacoby Brissett playing, New England can do one thing. They're going to try to hand the ball to Ramondre Stevenson, and their best chance of staying in games is limiting possessions and keeping it on the ground. The Texans are great against the rush. All right, their secondary is at times a little bit susceptible, but they're very good against the rush. This is a bad matchup for the Patriots, a team that's lost 4 in a row, and it doesn't. You just lost to the Dolphins. Ugh. I think the Texans run away with this game, but I think they're really strong in a teaser leg. I know teasers got killed again on Sunday with the Seahawks and the Niners, -7 down to -1. But I would still go for it here with Houston. I don't think this one happens. I cannot see the Patriots winning this game outright. Maybe I'll eat my words, but no chance. I'm going to use Houston in a teaser. And if you're not interested in teasers, I still think they cover the 7. I just think they're so much better. So much better than the Patriots, and the Patriots got a lot of problems. That win in week 1, as we can see now, after watching the Bengals for 4 more games, you can see that their defense is horrific. So that win in week 1 was kind of like nobody really knew how bad the Bengals defense was going to be, and the Patriots just ran the ball all over them, and that's what teams have done since then. They've just run the ball all over the Bengals. So kind of in hindsight, I know hindsight's 2020, but kind of in hindsight, it makes a little bit of sense. But this matchup is not one where I could see them having any success. And yes, the defense is okay, but Houston should have their chances here and take this game. I would lean Texans -7 to break this ridiculous streak of 7-point dogs, and I would also use them in teasers as well safely. All right, here's another huge dog. Man, we got some interesting spreads this week. The Browns headed to Philadelphia after getting beat down by the Commanders. This line got to 9. Think about how crazy that is. This line got to Philly -9. It's now 8.5, total at 43.5. Now, a couple of key things to note about this game is that the Eagles are coming out of their bye week, so they're getting healthier. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith should be back for this game. I believe I also saw that Lane Johnson's going to be back for this game. That's 3 huge pieces on offense that should give Philly a nice boost. But, all right, and I know I just did this. I'm an idiot, right? I just did this on Sunday with the Browns. But I can't get to this line. I'm looking at my power ratings, no matter how much I adjust, I can't get to 8.5 or 9 with Philly. A lot of questionable coaching decisions have been made by that team this year. A rush-heavy team. They're not a super explosive offense is going to chuck the ball downfield. They want to go with Saquon. They want to go to shorter throws with Brown and Smith and let them get yards after the catch. All that. I can't lay a number this big with Philly. But at the same time, I don't want to bet Cleveland. So this is probably a pass for me. It's probably just a pass. If this were to get to 9, 9.5, or 10, I'd have to look at Cleveland here. No, I mean, I'm not even sure you could, as bad as the Browns have looked, I just don't think that you could get this line. My line, by the way, is 7. So 8.5, 9. This was at 9. How crazy is that? And then the Browns got some money. But man, the way the Eagles play, and I know they're getting healthier coming out of the bye, and Cleveland's looked horrific, but the way the Eagles play, the way they're coached, and you saw this with the Atlanta game. They were at home, laying a big number at home, 6, 5.5. Have the lead for most of the game, and then what happens? One drive at the end, Falcons win. That probably won't happen here, but could I see a more competitive game here, maybe than you would expect? Do the Browns get Nick Chubb back? I see he's been doing some practice drills. I don't know what's the status. I got to check on the status. But man, this is a big number for Philly. That's all I'm going to say here on this game. I would slightly lean to Cleveland if you get 9, 9.5. I think at that point you might play it. I would also lean under in this game because I think the matchup for the Browns defense is much better than it was last week, obviously in hindsight. But 43.5, I'd lean under. That's a key number, 43. And I'd lean just a little bit to Cleveland. I know I didn't learn my lesson, I know, but Browns plus 8.5 would be my lean in this game. All right. Headed to Green Bay now. The Packers come off of a road win against the Rams. The Cardinals come off of a road win as 7-point dogs against the Niners. Now they head to Lambeau. Cardinals plus 5 on the road here. 49.5 is the total. Is this a dead over game? I don't know. It kind of seems like it, right? One of the higher totals on the board. Both teams should be able to get whatever they want. I don't know. I'm always weary, and there's numbers to back this up, but I'm always weary of dogs after they complete a big upset, right? After they win outright as a 7, 8-point dog. There's very often a letdown the following week. And I got to think that might be the case here. The Green Bay Packers defense is not great against the run, so that opens up a little bit here from James Conner and also Kyler Murray to use his elusiveness and his evasiveness in the pocket to try to get out, create some rushing lanes. So that worries me a little bit, but I'd have to lean small here to the Packers. One thing that's worrying me about Green Bay is that offense just something is not right. It's not the offense we saw last year, and maybe they'll get it going in the second half the way they did last year, where they looked okay in the first half, kind of like they do now, and then in the second half that offense took off. Maybe that'll be the case, but I looked at the success rate chart this morning. They're way down on the offensive success rate. Just it didn't feel like they really outplayed the Rams thoroughly in that game, even though they won and covered. It felt like LA was within striking distance late in that game, driving, trying to score a touchdown that would have given them the lead. Couldn't get it done, but it just didn't look like the Packers that we were expecting for this season. So that worries me a little bit, but because of the way last week happened with the Cardinals, Lambeau's a very strong home field. That's a tough place to go get a win. So when you're doing power ratings, for example, on my power ratings, there's always a number that you assign for a home field advantage. It's going to be a little bit of a higher number for teams like, the Packers, for teams like Kansas City, Buffalo, who have very strong home fields, New Orleans. But it's going to be a little bit weaker for teams that don't have strong fields, like, the LA Chargers or, the Buccaneers is one of them. So these teams that don't have great home field advantages versus teams that do. The Packers are a team that do have a good, strong home field advantage. So I would lean slightly here, Green Bay -5, but it's not, I don't love anything about this game. My only angle here situationally would be fading the Cardinals off of that crazy win, that crazy outright win that they had against the Niners, which, let's be real, if the Niners have a kicker, do they win that game? Probably not. They probably don't win the game if the Niners have a kicker. So, whatever that's worth, keep that in the back of your head. Okay, and an interesting divisional matchup here in the AFC South. The Colts are on the road against Tennessee. Indy laying -1. Totals at 43. The Titans coming out of their bye week as a home dog, I think, is a pretty interesting spot. Obviously, you've got the concerns here with Anthony Richardson and with Jonathan Taylor. It looks like they both should play. They both were out last week, but it looks like they're on track to play. And here's the thing. If you're a Titans fan or a Titans bettor, I lean Titans in this game, you want Anthony Richardson back. You don't want Flacco out there, all right? Because the offense has looked significantly better when Joe Flacco's under center, all right? Now, he's a vet. He's been doing this for a long time. He's got nothing to lose. So he stands in the pocket and he's going to sling it. Not the same for Anthony Richardson, who maybe overthinks some plays, at times shows amazing skill, amazing talent to be able to make some plays, but other times very, very silly mistakes, boneheaded throws. I'd rather have him out there because I like the Titans in this game. The big thing is going to be the Jonathan Taylor injury, but here's the other thing. Even if it's Richardson or Flacco, let's just say either one of them, what they did to the Jaguars last week, the Jaguars defense last week, they're not going to do that to the Titans defense. The Titans have a sneaky good defense, and you wouldn't think it because of their record. They're 1-3, and Will Levis has, you've seen all the stuff about Will Levis, but this team has a good defense, both against the pass and the rush. So I think the Colts could struggle offensively in this game. And you've got this weird line, -1, right? A team and a divisional game. The public bettors are going to be jumping on Indy for this spot. I think this is a good Titan spot coming out of the bye week. Fix some things, clean some things up. They're healthy. They're good on defense. That hasn't been their problem this year. It has not been their defense. It's been the offense, but maybe they'll come out a little bit sharper, a little bit crisper. I don't like this spot for Indianapolis. Back-to-back divisional games on the road. Not a great spot to back a team. Give me the Titans +1 in this game. I don't know which way this line is going to move. It looks like it's just stuck so far at 1 across the board. Maybe a small lean to the under, but I'm not really interested in this total. I'm interested in this situational spot where I get to fade the Colts, who I don't think are a great team, and I get to play on the Titans, who I don't think are a great team, but in my power ratings, I have them favored in this game. All right, so do with that what you will. I think the line is off in this one. Next game up, the Buccaneers headed to New Orleans to take on the Saints. This is a very huge injury in this one with Derek Carr last night on Monday Night Football, so you have to watch out for this line and which way it goes. Right now, it's sitting at Tampa -2. It was 2.5. All right, so it looks like somebody or some people have maybe bought kind of a fade the narrative thing with the quarterback going out. You see that a lot with sharp bettors. If a quarterback gets injured, the market often overreacts to how the difference between that starter and the backup. It's going to be Haener, I believe, for the Saints here, so that's kind of a tricky one with Carr going down. Tampa -2. They come off the tough overtime loss against the Falcons. They have extra rest, though, in this game. That was a Thursday Night Football game, so extended rest. Backup quarterbacking for the Saints, et cetera, et cetera. We can go on and on. The bottom line here is just that it's a big injury, and it's moved the line dramatically, right? Saints were -2.5. Now they're +2 or +2.5 at home. This is a game for me. When I see games like this, I just don't bet. The number moved across 0. Quarterback's out. Is Derek Carr worth 4 or 5 points to the point spread? That's for you to decide. I don't know. I haven't adjusted my power ratings yet without him, so I don't know what I would make this line. I'd have to go look at it, to be honest with you. So I don't have a number on this game yet, but to me, this is a stay away. If you think Haener's going to really struggle, maybe look at the under, but it's 42.5. It's get under that key number of 3, which could be a little bit dangerous. The Saints defense did not look good last night, but that was against the Chiefs. The Buccaneers are playing really well offensively. It's just about the matchup here, and it is a divisional game where you have a home divisional dog. So just be careful with it. Tampa -2. If you told me the Saints are going to be missing Derek Carr, I would have thought this line moved a little bit further. Honestly, on the other side of 3. So this would worry me a little bit if I wanted to back Tampa in this spot. That the fact that the line is so short, but this is a classic game where I just pass. I don't play games like this, so I'll be passing on that one. All right, over to the late afternoon slate now. We're going to get into these games. The Chargers headed to Denver. LA opened 2.5. They're now laying 3 on the road against the Broncos, and the total's 35.5. It's ticked down. We've seen some under money in this game. Full disclosure, when the Broncos were 2.5, I teased them down up to 8.5. So I've got a teaser pending with the Broncos as one of the legs. I understand fading Denver with how well they've been playing, and they just got a big home win over a divisional opponent in a blowout. The defense has looked phenomenal. I will say that about Denver. In my NFL preview show during the summer in August, I said, man, if Peyton can figure out anything with Bo Nix, I would lean over 5.5 on the Broncos win total. They've got 3 wins already. It's crazy how that worked out. I wasn't like super confident in it. I just said I would lean that way. And man, they've looked really good. Some impressive wins as outright dogs. A lot to like about Denver for the future. And even with some of the things that Bo Nix shows you on offense that don't look great, there's a lot of stuff that he shows you that does look good. So a lot to be optimistic about for the Broncos. Here's the thing, though. The Chargers coming out of their bye week will get healthier. They still don't have great weapons on offense, so I don't love them covering a game as a favorite. I prefer them as an underdog. But my lean in this game is Denver. But I will say, road favorites coming out of their bye week are typically a good spot. I believe, if I see if I can pull it up, but I believe that's a 60% spot, ATS, road favorites coming out of the bye week. So keep an eye on that. It's like I said, it's a tricky game. I teased Denver from +2.5 to +8.5. Let's see, road favorites off of a bye week, guys, 112, 81, and 3. That's 58%, almost 59%. Applies to 2 teams this week. That's the Detroit Lions and the LA Chargers. So road favorites off of a bye. Kind of a good spot for LA. Extra time to prep, obviously. The Broncos coming off of a divisional win. Is that an emotional high? I don't know. The game was never really close. It wasn't like a crazy come-from-behind win. It wasn't a game where they had to expend a lot of energy. They won it pretty much going away. The defense was great. This could be a really strong under game. It was 36.5. It's now 35.5. Man, when you get to the mid-30s, I know historically they're profitable, but I just get scared of backing them when they're in the mid-30s. I like to get 37 is a key number, so I like to get them at least up to 37. But below that, I start to get a little bit weary. But yeah, I teased Denver up. Other than that, no, it's just hard to deny the way this team has been playing offensively. And you see how the Chargers, defensively, and you see how the Chargers offense looks. Kind of seems like a good matchup for them, and that they could probably keep this game low scoring and cover this 3, maybe even win the game outright. Small lean here to Denver, but it's nothing really strong either way for me on that game. Okay, the Steelers are headed to Vegas, coming off of that rough Sunday Night Football loss to the Cowboys. They're laying 3 now on the road against the Raiders. Go from a home favorite to a road favorite. You always got to be weary about teams like Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh is great under Tomlin as an underdog. Not so great as a favorite, especially a road favorite. They're great as a home dog, great as a dog in general, good team to the under on the road because their defense travels so well. But man, this is I don't know. Is this a buy low on Vegas after losing that game so badly to the Broncos? Now they come home and they're getting 3. Give me a field goal against Justin Fields in that offense. I got to lean Raiders here +3. 36.5 is the total, slightly into the under. But that 3, by the way, is I'm seeing a -115 on DraftKings. Let me get a look around. Yep, -120 on FanDuel, -115 on DraftKings, -113 BetRivers, -115 Caesars. What does that mean? Why am I saying this? Because a +3 -110 is not the same as a +3 -120 or -115. The juicier it gets means the more likely a little bit more action on that side by sharps or pro bettors, and that's going to come down. When it starts to get juiced from -110, -115, -120, it means it's approaching 2.5. So this 3 could be 2.5 soon, the way it was at the open. I think what you're seeing here is the market saying this is the ceiling. We're not going above 3 for Pittsburgh. They're not going to be a 3.5 point favorite. So this line's either going to stick at 3 or it's going to get bought back down to 2.5. I lean Vegas either way here. I just can't, maybe Pittsburgh gets a close win. I don't know. I can't get to the point where I'm laying a field goal with Pittsburgh on the road. I think is too high, especially with the way their offense has come back down to earth, the way they've looked the last couple of weeks. No way. Another game here where you have a tricky road favorite. The Atlanta Falcons headed to Carolina, laying 6. This line was 5, 5.5. Now they're laying a full touchdown on the road against the Panthers. Total's at 47.5. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah, the Panthers, well, it's no longer Bryce Young, it's Dalton, but man, that defense looks so bad. Every team is getting whatever they want on defense, and you would be right about that. But this is a divisional game at home, catching a full touchdown. I can go dig up the numbers. I guarantee you they're very strong to the home dog in these spots. And yes, the Falcons should do well, offensively in this game because of how bad the Panthers defense has been. But the Panthers offense, aside from that tough, they had to go on the road in Chicago against a pretty good defense, specifically against the Falcons have been decent up front, but they haven't really gotten any pressure. They're really struggling to get pressure on the quarterback, and their secondary is a little bit susceptible here. So I could see this kind of being a back and forth game. The Panthers are at home, kind of like this reminds me a lot of that game where the Bengals, even though they won and covered, they were laying 4.5 on the road in Carolina. They won and covered, but the Falcons offense is certainly not as good as that Bengals offense. But that game kind of went back and forth, and Carolina was never out of it. And Carolina was always within reach of a backdoor cover. Like one more touchdown, they lose by 3, they lose by 4 if they go for whatever, but they would have covered. So this feels a lot like that game. Like maybe the Falcons have a 10-point lead late, and you get like a backdoor or something like that, a late touchdown, a garbage time touchdown, or just it goes back and forth. Like I don't see this being a blowout, so I can't really lay 6 here on the road with Atlanta, especially with, I know they looked really good on Thursday Night Football offensively, and Kirk threw for so many yards, over 500 passing yards. Does that happen again? That's very rare in today's NFL. You don't really see that anymore. So when I see a guy have a game like that, I might even want to fade him the next week. Slight lean here to Carolina, +6. It looks like the market has topped out at 6. I want to see, does this go any further up? If I can get a 6.5 or 7, I might fire on the Panthers for the first time this season. I've avoided them all season long because of, I didn't like Young. And then when they made the switch, I'm like, all right, it could be a spot, but I'm not going to risk it. This would be the first spot, home divisional dog, getting a full touchdown where I would look the way of the Panthers personally. So lean here to Carolina. I think this could be a back and forth game where their offense keeps them in it. All right, we're going a little bit long here on time, so let's power through these last 3 games. You've got the Lions on the road against the Cowboys. Detroit's coming out of their bye week, laying 3.5 in certain spots. Totals at 52.5. Okay, Lions out of the bye. Cowboys obviously coming off of the big win on Sunday Night Football. So this line is 3.5 on a couple of books and then back down to 3 on some books. So the market's basically telling you 3.5 is as high as we go here. We're not going to, the lines are not going to be -4 on the road against the Cowboys, which makes total sense to me. The situationally here, though, I think the matchup is really strong for Detroit. Obviously a great rushing attack. You saw what happened on that Monday Night Football game. They picked apart that Seattle defense. The Cowboys defense has been all right, but they cannot stop the rush. They can't. They've every team that can run the ball. The Saints back in week 2, the Ravens back in week 3. Even the Giants were able to run on them a little bit in that game where they covered the spread. They lost but covered. Every team that can run the ball on the Cowboys ends up giving them problems. And I think this could be another one. And I think after getting that big win on the road as an underdog in prime time, now coming back home, is this a flat spot, a little bit of a letdown situationally? I mentioned the trend earlier about road favorites off a bye week, 58% against the spread. That's Detroit. But I'll give you guys some other nuggets here that I looked at for this game for Lions versus Cowboys. If you never looked at this before, take a look at this. Teams after they play the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a couple of teams that works with, like teams after they play the 49ers, because they especially with McCaffrey, because they're so physical, they run the ball, keep your defense on the field a long time. Also look at teams after they play the Steelers. Overall, they're 45% against the spread. But if they win, if they beat the Steelers, the next game they're 42% against the spread. And if they beat them on the road in Pittsburgh, like the Cowboys did, they're 26% against the spread. 5-14 ATS in the last 5-14-2. So 26% after getting a road win in Pittsburgh. Very hard fought win by the Cowboys. The game went late. Remember that? Remember that it was delayed because of the weather. So the game went late, finished up very late, travel issues, all this. I think Detroit, I think it's a smash spot for the Lions to beat up on a team that they're much better. They're much better than the Cowboys. I thought the Cowboys would go under their win total this year. I didn't expect them to make the playoffs. I think the Lions can get anything they want on the ground in this game, and they covered a 3. So I would lean here to Detroit -3. All right, Bengals at Giants. This is your Sunday Night Football game. Cincy -3.5, total at 49. Giants coming off of the huge outright win. Same thing I'm going to say in this game that I said about the Cardinals earlier. I would lean to the Bengals. I think the Bengals can throw on this bad Giants secondary. What's the one thing the Giants do really well? They get pressure. But Burrow is excellent against pressure, and Burrow is excellent against the blitz if you send them. I think he can pick apart this Giants secondary. I think it's a bit of a buy low, sell high dynamic here with the Bengals coming off of a horrible loss a game that they led by 10 in the fourth quarter. They should have won that game against the Ravens. They were one of our teaser legs, but I really thought they were going to just win the game outright. That 2.5 fishy line, I thought Cincy was going to win that game. They blow it, a brutal collapse. Now, do you say that cooked them for the season? They're cooked, or do you now say I can buy low on Cincinnati? And then the Giants, listen, the Giants, Daniel Jones now is like 19-7 as a road underdog. If you give him a field goal or more, he excels on the road catching points, not so much at home. If you give me the Giants as a home dog, it's not as appealing. And I think I have this line at 4.5, so I see a bit of line value on Cincy. But my biggest question here is, we have to see if Neighbors plays, right? Does Singletary come back? Does Neighbors come back? It looks like Neighbors could clear the concussion thing and come back. If he comes back, that definitely makes them a little bit more dangerous because that Cincinnati defense is just so bad. But I'm just not sure, even with him, can the Giants keep up? Because I think the Bengals are just going to, like they did against the Ravens, like they did against Washington, like they've done against pretty much all teams except for New England this year, they have just been score. The offense looks insanely good. So maybe they're just another dead over team like Washington is, and you take the over in this game and just call it a night. But I got to lean Cincy -3.5 here just because of the buy low, sell high dynamic, the opposite results that both teams had the previous week. If that Seattle game goes to overtime and let's say the Giants lose it, what's this line? It's probably not 3.5. So, and if the Bengals hold on, right? Like I know it's ifs, these are big ifs, but they matter. So for me, I'd lean Cincy in this game, but small lean, I haven't played it. All right, Monday Night Football, Bills versus the Jets. Buffalo's laying 2.5 on the road. Total is 49. Right before I started recording this video, Robert Saleh got fired. So I'm a Jets fan. I'm glad he's gone, but the alternative is that Nathaniel Hackett's probably going to step in as the interim head coach, and that's not much better. Listen, the biggest thing I can tell you about this game, I think the Jets can maybe be a good teaser leg. But here's the thing, and I know the line looks fishy. It's like a road favorite with the 2.5. We go through this all the time, dozens of times per season, and these home teams usually cover or win. But the Bills have now lost 2 games in a row. They started off 3-0, 2 tough losses to 2 really elite opponents. Baltimore and Houston are elite teams in the AFC. No question about that. So the Bills lose to 2 elite teams. The Jets are not one of the elite teams in the AFC. All right, they're just absolutely not. So the question now becomes, if the Jets are going to win this game, they're going to have to do something that's never been done before. And that's for the Bills with Josh Allen as quarterback to lose 3 games in a row. It's never happened. He's lost 2 games in a row 6 times. And in that third game, he's 6-0 straight up. All right. 3-2-1 against the spread. But this is a small spread. A lot of those spreads were like 8, 9, 10. So this is a small spread. He's never lost 3 games in a row. So ask yourself, do you think that happens against this Jets team? The defense is good. The Jets defense has been good. They were good against Minnesota in London. The offense looks really, really weak. All right. And the offense gave away points last week with that pick 6. Otherwise, that's the difference. That's literally the difference in the game. Do they win the game otherwise? So I could see a case for both. I could see you saying that the Jets can make this competitive, and I could see you saying Allen's never lost 3 games in a row. It ain't happening against this team. Maybe if it was a different team. I think your best bet here is the Jets in a teaser up to 8.5. Combine that with something else because I think these divisional games just play close. But I feel like this is one of these games where Buffalo ekes it out late. They pull it out late and they avoid losing 3 games in a row. Because, man, if you go from 3-0 to 3-3, that's going to really be tough for the Bills. The Bills are clearly the better team. And the Jets, maybe they get a boost from firing Saleh. I don't know how bad it was in the locker room. But I can't think. I mean, we've seen Nathaniel Hackett be a head coach in this league. I can't think it's much better. Small lean here to Buffalo for me if you're playing the spread of -2.5. But I like the Jets in a teaser instead. I think this could be a 3 to 6 point win for Buffalo is kind of where I'm seeing the most likely scenario here. But just keep all that in mind. Allen's never lost 3 games in a row. You have a head coaching change, primetime game. Lots to consider here in terms of those angles. So it makes it very tricky. It's not like it's all on one side. It's a mixed bag with this one. So I'd be weary of this game. And the total's 41. That's too low for me. I would usually say under, but it's too low to take the under. So I would stay away from that total. That is your week 6 slate, guys, in the NFL. Guys, if you're enjoying this video, please leave a comment. Let me know which plays you like. If you disagree with any of the leans I've given you, drop it in the comments. We can discuss it. Make sure you subscribe so you get notifications when I drop the next one for next week. And if you're interested, there's deals down in the profile. The season pass is now prorated, so it's like half off the original price to get all my releases for the rest of the year. There's 4 releases out for week 6. There's also a 50% off code of a month if you just want to try it out down there. So take a look at that if you're interested, and I'll see you guys next week for week 7